So, welcome to Magical Moments with Remarkable People, and welcome to my podcast. Today, we are joined by Miquel Lizarralde, an internationally known medium from Spain who has dedicated his life to bridging the physical and the spiritual worlds. From his early connection with spirit to his academic and spiritual training, Miquel's journey is both unique and deeply human. In this conversation, we'll explore the person behind the messages and what it really means to live with one foot in both worlds. In 2017, we started our business and friendship. So let's begin, dear Miquel. Welcome.
Thank you, Britta. I'm delighted to be here.
Miquel, you began your connection to the spiritual world very early in your childhood. Could you
Mhm.
share one of your first experiences and how it shaped the way you view reality?
Mm. Thank you, Britta, for that question. It's actually a very interesting question, and I get that question asked a lot, but I really have to think about the first moment. For me, there is not one day where I was a medium and a day where I was not. It's always been like that in my life, in my mind. I've always been very active imaginatively. I've always had many so-called imaginary friends. And the story I'm going to tell now is to do with one of these imaginary friends. From my home to school, I had to walk what I then thought it was a long walk, a long journey. Now it's not that long, but at the time I thought it was long. We wanted to walk it like the adults. We didn't want to go on the bus. So it was a friend of mine and myself walking on this almost very deserted path. There weren't many people. And I had a few friends with me all the time, especially when I was alone. And this was a girl of about 15, 14, 13 years old. She was very, very blonde. She had beautiful, beautiful green eyes, very pale skin. And at the time, we had on the national Spanish TV, we had a show, and the main character was blonde. She had blue eyes, and her name was Marisol. So I named this friend of mine, this what everybody thought it was imaginary friend, Marisol. But to me, it was just the same. I could see her. We used to hang out together. We would talk. I could feel her, see her, listen to her, have a dialogue with her like I would do with anybody else. It was kind of funny to me that she would come mainly when I was on that road, on that way to school, and mainly when I was by myself. And she started coming to me when I was like 6 or 7, probably 7, right after kindergarten. I've never seen her. I didn't know who she was, but I thought she was just another girl walking with us. Only that not everybody could see her all the time. But I could see her, I could talk to her, I could have fun with her. We used to play out and sing and dance. And when a few years later, when I must have been maybe 9 or 10, I remember at my father's home, birth home, my eldest auntie, it was October 31st. It was All Saints Day. So
Mm,
you honor your
mm,
departed ones, and
yes.
you put a candle out and you say a prayer and you bring flowers. And all of a sudden I was stuttered. I was really in a shock because I saw my aunt put up a picture of this Marisol and light a candle and cry and pray for her and bring flowers. and do a whole ritual along with other relatives. But I could see clearly her picture there. And
Hmm.
I'm like, I couldn't understand what was going
Mm,
on. So I
mm,
asked her, why do you have a picture of my friend Marisol here? And she replied, well, this is not your friend, this is your cousin. And her name is not Marisol, her name is Maria Angeles. And I remember I went silent, I went mute because I couldn't, it was such a shock. My friend that I had been hanging out
mm.
for so many years, for 3 or 4 years, is now my cousin, but she's not even alive. So I'm able to see the departed people, dead people. Like I couldn't understand
Yeah.
it. And that's when I asked again, and but didn't get any answer. So I took off. And on the way back home, I asked my parents in the car. And my mom told me that, yes, that was actually my cousin. Her name was Maria Angeles. She died when she was 14. She was run over by a train. And I was only two. I was 2 years old. She was 14, 15, and I was two. And she was apparently very fond of me. So that's when I realized this was spirit. And it's funny because that fondness, that love continued in the afterlife. But it really shaped my personality, Brita, because
Mm.
I realized that this is something unique. I didn't know what a medium was. I didn't know anything about spirit. I didn't know anything from the other world. This was in the 80s. It was
Mm.
very Orthodox, and my family is very Roman Catholic. So I was shy already, but I started to shut down more and be more inwardly, and I became even more shy. And because I was afraid that if people found out I could see dead people, then they would turn against me, or
Yeah.
they would curse me or something. So I tried to kind of get rid of that part of myself. I couldn't do it,
Mm.
of course, but I remember praying and asking God in my night during my night prayers, please remove this from me, take this
Oh,
away from
oh,
me, because
oh,
yeah, I
really?
didn't think it
Wow.
was pleasant.
Yeah.
And then, of
Yes.
course, it's hard for a child to
Yes.
think that somebody who is your friend all of a sudden is not your friend, is your deceased cousin.
Mm.
Of course, I met her, but I was 2 years old, so I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But she
Well,
did remember me, eh? She did remember me.
yes, yeah. Well, at that point, I need to ask you, how did you manage? Because then also later on, it keeps the talent was there. Yeah.
Mm.
So, what helped you to embrace this ability more and then fully till today? What do you think? What was
I,
that?
I never really wanted to embrace disability because I
Yeah,
no
consciously.
no I wanted to get remove mediumship
Yeah,
from my life. And honestly, when I was older,
yeah.
when I got proper training and when I understood the phenomena and I was able to control, that was one key thing. When I'm able to control the phenomena
Ah.
and not allow the phenomena control you. But when I was a child or a teenager, even a young adult,
Mhm.
to me, there were two or three main things. One was prayer, spirituality.
Mhm.
And I was very lucky. My parents gave me a lot of that. So
Mm.
going into solace, going into quietness, and
Mhm.
maybe it was meditation. I don't know. I
Mhm.
used to pray a lot. Being in nature and being in contact with nature
Mm.
by myself, and then being in touch with animals, with
Ah.
dogs, with horses, with all kinds of animals, cows, but mainly dogs. I think
Uh-huh.
dogs have a purpose in our lives,
Yeah.
that they're angelical beings who come here to show us what love is really about. And
Well,
I was there, it was my refuge.
yes, I can totally understand. And
Yeah.
you still are surrounded by so many animals, as I know
Yeah.
you're living on a farm and you have that in your free time, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, many people think of mediumship as a mystical ability, but you emphasize training and ethics.
Mhm.
How do you define the responsibility of a medium, and
Hmm.
what values are most important to you in this work? I would like to know.
Can you repeat the last part, please? What is?
And what values
Ah,
are
values.
most important
Mm.
to
Oh,
you in this work?
yeah, good question also. Thank you. The values is to me the most important thing because this is a mediumship is both a gift and an ability. And if we honor it, if we take it with responsibility, if we respect it, if we take care of it as a sacred thing, then it will take care of us, it will protect us, it will guide us. Your life will change forever for the better once you understand that we don't die and once you honor that ability. And but we do have a lot of responsibility. Training is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people seem to think that because it's a spiritual gift, they don't have they shouldn't develop, they shouldn't do any training, but
Mm-hmm.
it's quite the opposite. Because you were given this ability, you have the responsibility to be the best that you can be, you know? Because we're here to serve. That is our only mission, our only purpose. God gave you, or spirit, or universe gave you this ability, and it's your responsibility to become the best that you can be and to serve, to be a beacon in between the two worlds, to be the voices and the eyes and the avatar of those who are now in heaven, because those who are now in heaven are not dead. Heaven is a very active world. In heaven, they're not just lying around, they're very active. So they have a lot of things to say and they can help us in many ways. So you, as a medium, have now the opportunity to become their voices, to become their avatar, to help and to, be a bridge in
Mm-hmm.
between the two
Mm-hmm.
worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So you, of course, need to work on your own issues, on your own traumas, on your own personal stigmas or issues, because we as humans, we all are hurting.
Mm.
We all have things that we need to work on. We are not perfect.
Yes, and that's what you then realized. And as I know, you did trainings yourself.
Mhm,
You went to Canada, to
mhm.
Montreal, and
Yeah.
a long training period there, and you have still this connection. And
Mhm.
you also went to Arthur Findlay College in Great Britain, which is one of the world famous institution for training.
Yeah.
Can you say, what you still carry from these trainings, or maybe even from
Everything.
your teachers?
Everything. And I still continue studying because after I did my training in mediumship, what I realized is that mainly everybody who comes to us are grieving, they're mourning, they're hurting.
Yeah,
So I
yes.
thought, how can I become also a good therapist for these people? So I trained myself in grief and counseling. I studied psychology. Then I started a master's degree in psychotherapy. And now I'm currently studying a master's degree in clinical neuropsychology because I believe that there's always room for improvement. We can always do better. When people say, oh, I can only do so much, yeah, in a way that's true, but nowadays we have so many options where we can learn even online. So why not take the advantage of that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I carry everything, from those times in Montreal. I spent 2.5 years in Montreal, and then I on and off like a year in the Arthur Findlay College. Um, and before I went to Montreal, it was like a wild horse. I did my readings.
Yeah.
I was doing
So
readings.
structure probably, yeah.
I didn't have any structure.
Yeah.
I had the gift and I was doing some readings
Yeah.
already, but I think that innocent part where a child gets surprised with everything and enjoys the new things and the new activities, it's something that we shouldn't ever lose.
Yeah.
It's something that we should always keep in our hearts. And that's my personality.
Um,
But that's also something that I carry from Montreal. And
mhm.
then if you know me and if you've ever seen
Mm.
me give messages, you will see that I'm very active and I move
Yeah.
around, do a lot of gestures with my
Yes.
hands. In Britain, they're more
Yeah.
aesthetic, maybe.
Conservative.
Yeah. So that's something that I carry from Montreal,
Ah,
you know?
interesting. I always wondered, yeah, what that influence is. We know here more the British influence, yeah, on mediumship here in Germany. We have a lot of people from
Mhm.
that realm. And when we met, yeah,
Yeah.
I realized that, that's different. It's
I
more modern,
remember,
it's
yeah.
more casual, and yeah, you
If
can. It's not so spooky. The yeah anymore.
No, it doesn't have to be spooky. But it was hard for my translator. It was hard on my translator because
Ah,
he was used to
the other way.
the other way. So I was moving around the room and I couldn't keep up. I
Yeah.
had three main teachers,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and one of them was a very old Ukrainian, actually Ukrainian
Wow.
medium, or an old lady. She's now in her 90s. No, she must be nearly 100 now. And she did this before giving messages.
Ah, I remember this gesture you do.
Sometimes I do this, yeah. I go,
Yes.
I'm gonna get, and she uses that to get in tune.
Oh,
And I do that. And then, the gift is something that is alive. It doesn't settle. So it grows very much like a language. The more you speak it, the more fluent that you become at it. So when I was younger, I couldn't, it was very hectic. But I also like to go to conferences and sit in the room where when the medium is working and learn from what they do. Not only from my training, I think that, like I said before, there's always room for improvement. So I don't think like, okay, I did my training and this is enough and I'm,
mm,
I'm done with it. No, I like even today going to, and now you can get a lot of information online also. But before I will go to spiritual churches or I will go to lectures and I would sit in the audience and just see how other mediums work. And
yeah.
you also learn a lot. And my gift became more mature, I would say.
More mature. And you mentioned two other teachers, which we did not name yet. I did not forget. So, would you like to share these ones,
Yeah.
the Ukrainian, and what are the other two?
One was Harry Monti. The Ukrainian, her name is Catherine Pristupa. And the Harry Monti was one of my main ones.
Uh-huh.
We did all kinds of things. We did soul rescue. We did out of body experiences. We did trance. We even through him, he had a relative who was in the police department, and we
Which
helped
country? Which
in
country was it?
Canada. All this
From
was in Canada.
also from okay, from
Yeah.
Canada. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they were all in Canada. And he had a relative who was a police officer, and through him we were able to help in a kidnapping case. So Spirit were able to locate where
Wow.
the kidnapper was and save some children. Yeah, and then of course my dear Marilyn
Yeah,
Rosner.
this one I know. Okay. Well,
But
would
I
you
had
say that
many
huh?
more.
Many more,
I
but
have
these
many,
are
and
some.
then of course in the Arthur Findlay College, Janet Parker
Mm.
was now has now retired, and probably Paul.
Hmm.
Paul, I don't remember his last name, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned that you studied psychology, and I would like to know, did that also influence the way how you deliver messages from the spiritual world? Or you mentioned
maybe.
already it changed
Mhm,
your attitude concerning
mhm,
people and how to be more of help to that
mhm.
person. But did it had also on the messages some influence? Would you say so?
Yeah, I think so. I've always been very concerned about how you deliver the message,
Yeah.
and that's a very integral part of the training when I give trainings. Um, it's not, you can say the same thing, but say it in a different way
Right.
and give hope or just destroy someone. So
Mm,
why not give them some hope if you can, at least?
mm,
No?
mm,
So that's always been part of my training. But when I studied psychology, that
yeah.
helped me understand a lot of the issues that people were going through that maybe I wasn't aware before I did that training, you know?
Mhm.
And be able to treat them, not treat them as a psychologist, but
Yeah.
hold them and in a different way. And also very much so when you give a message, which words you use, how you approach the person, which things that you want to stress, and
Mm,
where do you want to focus your
mm,
voice. That helped me a lot. But I think, Britta, that everybody who's doing this work should have at least some therapeutic skills. Everybody
okay.
during mediumship should know at least something about therapy.
Mm,
Because people who come to us, they come in grief, they come in need.
mm,
And if you don't know how to hold them and how to word out the messages and how to treat them properly,
mm,
you may sometimes
mm,
disregard some of the issues, mistake some of the other ones, but also you can hurt a lot. And
definitely.
they're already hurting. They're
Definitely.
already in pain.
Yes. 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 I totally agree.
So we need to
Well,
give hope and not add more
yeah.
pain to the story.
Michael, mediumship seems to shift nowadays. It's not just a service, but it seems to be a path of personal and collective healing to me.
Mhm, yeah.
What role do you believe mediums can and should play in society today?
Well, huge, huge. Spirit told me that there will be a special unit in the hospitals where they treat the dying process and the dying person in a very holistic way. And I believe that will come to happen because when the Spirit says so, it will come to happen. So there
Mm,
will be a process to help the dying person before they die, during their passing, after they pass away, and also help those who are their family members. So we will have in those units, we will see medical doctors, nurses, nurse
mm,
assistants,
mm,
psychologists, social workers, healers, and mediums. And that is the future of mediumship. Mediumship is really the missing gap between science and religion. Spirituality, rather, I should say, is the missing link between religion and science. So people are realizing more and more that there's something else, that when we die, dust to dust. No, that is no longer the truth. When we die, the physical self dies, but we don't die. Our consciousness keeps on living. And we have now scientific evidence also talking about that.
mm,
So, mediumship is very healing.
mm,
It gives you not only hope, but certainty that your family, your loved ones are not dead, that they keep on living after the change we call death. And
mm,
in the future, I believe that mediumship will have a very important role in society just to be able to bring healing to
Mhm.
those who are suffering and be able to fix things before you go. Can you imagine going and knowing where you are going, knowing how you must go and what you must do, and who will you be going with and who will be waiting for?
Mhm.
I mean, it's priceless. The healing the mediumship can give someone is not comparable to anything else.
Wonderful. Ah, so many more questions
Hmm.
are in my head. Hmm. When you were mentioning that, I was thinking about the new artificial intelligence
Hmm.
development nowadays that you can make copies of yourself for
Hmm.
your beloved ones, yeah, after life to be present or for them still. Yeah, what do you think about this development?
It scares me really, to be honest. I'm really afraid, and I always tell people, stop sending projects to Mars and stop calling the extraterrestrials and try to have a permanent settlement in the moon. Use that money and clean the oceans and plant more trees and help the bees like they're doing in Frankfurt. We have to help the bees they're very scarce nowadays, and use that money to help the world that we have now rather than looking for a new home to escape to, a new world to escape to, and use that money also to do research about the extrasensorial perception abilities and about life after life. Because I'm sure that if governments would spend less money in guns and in making wars, and if they use that money towards investigation about the spirit fields, about the other realm, we would now have a lot spirit and easy spirit communication. And I'm really afraid of that artificial intelligence because, of course, it depends on in the hands of whom it might end up, So the artificial intelligence in itself is, I don't think it's dangerous,
Mm,
but it's like every other invention.
mm,
The government, the powerful people are going to use it for their own sake, and that's what I'm really afraid of.
mm,
But the soul cannot be replicated.
mm,
The soul is unique. We don't have a soul. We are a soul. So
mm,
you might replicate a person through cloning or through artificial intelligence, but the soul is not going to be there. The soul is divine. It's a divine spark. It's unique, and you are unique. So when you create something artificially, even if it seems real, it's not that real because the soul is not there. And look at the movies, look at all the Hollywood movies like I, Robot or the all the X-Men and um, Don't Look Up, and there are so many movies. And I believe, and this is my own personal belief, that Hollywood uses those movies to tell us and kind of mold us where our future is headed.
mm.
So we see things in the movies, and 10, 15, 20 years later, they
Right.
come
Come
true.
real.
But probably they were true before and they were just
Yeah,
preparing us
yeah.
for what it was to come.
Mm. All right, right. Yes, yeah. Is there maybe one truth or one message you would like to bring us, yeah, that could help us all right now, here in this moment,
Mm.
watching this podcast?
Yeah, first of all, as Spirit always says, we don't die. They are not dead. We just take off this suit and we dive into a new reality, almost like diving into the ocean. You're on the sand at the shore and then you get into the water. It's the same feeling. It's like falling asleep and you're gone. Excuse me, and you're gone. So I would tell everybody to call upon their spirit guides, their loved ones, to act upon it, to start a relationship, and not to be afraid, because spirit
Mm.
can only help you, can only do good things for you. Spirit is a field of love, unconditional love. And I would ask everybody to please try to work on their own skills so everybody can communicate with the other realm. Because this is something that we all have since birth. This is not something exclusive for only a few people like me. No, you can learn this, you can do this. So, and the spirit says, that, and this is what I would like people to always keep and have, that on the other realm, there are no lies. There's no hatred. There's no caste. The only caste is the caste of humanity. And there's only love. So why don't we start practicing it today?
Wonderful. Mikhail, thank you very much for your clarity, your depth, and willingness to speak so openly. Your work reminds us that mediumship is not about performance. It's about presence, compassion, and spiritual integrity.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your gift with us again and again. And I hope many, many, many people will be, yeah, in trust after you have shared these deep, deep insights you had in your life so far. Thank
I,
you.
I hope so. I hope so. Thank you very much.